Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios, it's time for Women in Motion. Brought to you by WBEC-West. Join forces, succeed together. Now, here's your host.
Lee Kantor here, another episode of Women in Motion, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, WBEC-West. Without them, we couldn't be sharing these important stories. Today on Women in Motion, we have Erika Castro with the Salt River Project. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to learn what you're up to. Please share a little bit about Salt River Project. How are you serving folks?
Yeah, so Salt River Project, also known as SRP, is a Arizona company. It's a public water and power utility with over 2 million customers here in the Valley. And the Valley we kind of refer to like the Phoenix metropolitan area. But yeah, water and power utility, that's what we do. That's our bread and butter.
Now, what's your background? Have you always been in that line of work?
Yeah, so I actually have been with the utility I'm going on 16 years. So definitely have enjoyed being in the utility space. And my background is in corporate philanthropy, but most recently within our supply chain area, working in supplier diversity.
Now, you are one of the corporate representatives at WBEC-West. Can you talk a little bit about why it's important for your firm to, be a member of WBEC-West and to be a corporate rep?
Yeah, so SRP has been, in the Valley for over 100 years. And, SRP's establishment was actually established pre-statehood. So it's really important for SRP to just really be engaged with the community. And more importantly, with the business community, because obviously SRP can't do all of the things that we do if we don't partner with suppliers that can, get us the services and good to be able to provide reliable, affordable power and water.
So when WBEC-West has an event like they are having in Henderson coming up September 17th through 19th, their 21st annual Procurement Conference, how do you kind of attack that? Is that a must-attend event for you and your team, or is that something, can you talk a little bit about how you kind of get the most from your, the corporate side of the table?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm also a proud member of WBEC-West, and I truly believe in its mission of advocating, supporting women business owners and ensuring that they have the opportunities necessary to compete for sustaining contracts and opportunities. And so for SRP, really, this is it's an imperative, right? Like I mentioned, we are not able to do the great work that we do at the utility if it wasn't for many of our women business owners. And so in this case, it's really important for us to be there. WBEC-West is our regional partner for WeBank. And not only are they just an amazing team, right? So I am going to brag on the team, but secondly, they're very intentional with everything that they do. And that means a lot for SRP because we know that when women business owners are competing for contracts, they're ready. They're ready and they're well prepared and they're winning contracts. So like I said, for us, it's really important to be there. It's an imperative for us to be there. So we are planning on attending with several members of our procurement team, which is super exciting because, we always like developing the connections with our women business owners, but women business owners also, call them weebies. They're super excited to meet our procurement folks. And so just making those connections, I think is really important because at the end of the day, we're kind of the funnel and the advocate for women business owners and the utility. But procurement, that's who knows about the projects. Like those folks are the ones that is really important for WBEs to meet. So we're really excited to go, with a team of folks to the WBEC-West conference. And you asked a great question, Lee, about just preparing. And so we do prepare in advance for the conference to make sure that if there's anything upcoming that we need, that we're looking for those things at the conference.
So how do you, we talk a lot on this show with the Weebies, but we don't talk a lot with the corporates. So I'm just trying to give the Weebies a little insight into like how the corporates prepare and how you're kind of getting the team ready and how they're kind of gathering the information that's important to them so that the Weebies have an idea of maybe how to kind of anticipate some things so they're better prepared. So can you share a little bit about, when you're in a meeting with the procurement folks and you're saying, okay, this conference is September 17th through 19th, and, here's the game plan. Here's the best way to kind of get the most out of it.
Yeah. So we kind of approach it from the perspective that, not each one of our procurement individuals that will be attending, they kind of have their area of responsibility, right? So someone may be very specific that all they do is, IT support. Someone else may just do, let's say, marketing and communications and environmental support. But once we kind of have this conversation with our procurement individuals, we kind of go at it from the perspective that you are representing our entire supply chain at SRP. So really the goal is to ensure that we are talking to everyone else, right? And we're kind of getting a feeler out there for everyone else in procurement of what is needed or what are the big things that are kind of coming down the pipeline where we may need, additional sources of Weebies. And so that's really kind of how we approach it. We have a discussion and we kind of just survey all of our peers on what they need. So in that way, when we go to the conference, we know the types of things that we need. And obviously for the types of things that we don't need, I always tell this to anyone that I meet, whether it's at SRP or not, is that it's so important, I think, to always give some positive feedback to Weebies, because one, they look to you for that experience, right? From the corporate perspective. So although there may not be opportunities in business, it's so important to make sure that you're giving them feedback and that you're giving them some honest, good feedback that they can take back for other potential, relationships for them or other potential opportunities. Because the last thing that I want is, to have our team prepare and go into this conference making everyone believe that, everyone's going to do business with SRP tomorrow. And that's just not really the reality. So, one, it's kind of just knowing what it is that we need going into it. But two, if we know that there's not a fit, still making sure that we're accessible. And that is one thing that I'm really proud of at SRP is that we have a great team. And, you can be assured that if you reach out to anyone from our team, they're going to get back to you, and oftentimes I think there's a lot of folks that are reaching out to, procurement and supplier diversity. And I think just the fact that there's not a lot of resources in those departments, it just takes a little bit longer maybe to get back to someone. We have a great team and we have a strong team. So that's one thing that we really pride ourselves with is that we love to provide feedback and just to, in the true essence of helping develop one another.
And it sounds like relationship part of this is very important. You don't want this to be transactional. You don't want it to be like, I sell widgets. I don't need widgets. Bye. You want it to be more human to human.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I always talk about is, the relationship part should always come first. Right. And even when we talk about, like matchmaking, right? Whenever a Weebie and a corporate gets into a matchmaker, I really don't like being in a space where it's just like you get someone's 30-second pitch and then you don't really learn anything about that person. I want to get to know you, and I know that for anyone that has gotten a contract, really, they say people do business with who they trust. And so for me, I think definitely it's developing those relationships. And I know that a lot of folks would agree with that. It's developing the relationships. The work comes after because, kind of what I mentioned, even if there's not an opportunity immediately, if I'm in conversation with someone internally or even externally, right? Because there's a huge network of us folks that talk outside, right? So it's other corporate representatives talking to other corporates. And even if we can't use them, if we've developed this relationship with a certain individual at WBE, we're more likely to recommend them. Oh, you know what? We haven't been able to use this person, but man, they would be great. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think relationship building, I think, is the number one that I would say, coming in here and really trying to develop that and just being yourself.
Now, I'm glad you brought up this matchmaking event that's going to happen there, and sharing a little bit about how you prepare your team to kind of go into that event. Um, is there some kind of do's and don'ts? Like these are red flags, these are green flags. Like, are there things that you can share with the Weeby? Kind of like you mentioned one of I want to know a little bit about you as a human, not just your elevator pitch, but can you share a little bit about things that you like and don't like?
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate when we can come into a conversation and when a WBE will ask for feedback. There is one event in particular that I attended where I heard of a pitch of a company, and this is a great example of kind of being open to feedback. Is that this company kind of talked about, they were in the painting industry, and they talked a lot about doing business with like a certain segment, right? And government work and a ton of government work. And it sounded like a lot of their work really was focusing on in this particular segment of home builders. And so, one of the things that I proposed to her after that conversation is, well, have you thought about, procurement with large corporations? Because the type of work that you do, and it was like specialty type of painting. I said, if you've seen any of these large corporations, they have beautiful facilities. So have you not thought about getting into procurement with large corporates? And she hadn't thought about that. So, going back to your question, I think one of the things that I really appreciate, as always, like, that I'd like to recommend in any sort of matchmaker, that you know, you're always seeking out either advice or, just open to any feedback. I think that's always a great thing. And then, like, I guess things that you want to stay away from is, one, obviously, I think any matchmaker setting, you have limited time. And so the last thing that you want is to take up the entire conversation, right? If there's five people in the table and you're going on for now 3 minutes, it's not being mindful, I guess, of the other folks at the table. So I think just kind of having the awareness of how much time do you have, how many people do you have, and not kind of overtaking that conversation, because I think that could be perceived negatively. So that's what I would recommend, that we, definitely be mindful of others, but to also be open to the feedback and suggestions of whoever's there, not just from a corporate standpoint, but I think there's a lot of great feedback and suggestions that can be made from other WBEs, right? Because you might have a WBE there that's been in business for 20 plus years and someone that's just starting out. And I think there's a lot of great feedback and advice that can come from someone that has a seasoned business or an experienced business.
Right. And there's a lot of synergies that might be just waiting there if you're kind of open to that.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to working with your company, how important is kind of doing the homework and research and really understanding? Because if you're a Weeby and you're gonna, you can't go to every single corporate's matchmaking, right? You can't go with everybody, so you got to pick a handful. And is it important for you to hear some of the kind of keywords and some of the hints that maybe they have done some homework and that they have kind of at least understand some of our pain points and some of the opportunities within our organization?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think every, especially being in the utility space with, a lot of our upcoming initiatives and our renewable initiatives, I think there's a lot of value to be had, and someone just making sure that they're prepared. And, I always think this way, right? If there's a corporation and we know what we're looking for going into it, I think the same concept could be made for a WeBe, that they come prepared to the conference knowing which corporations they would like to target, right? Because like you mentioned, you may not get FaceTime with everyone that maybe you'd like. So understanding that, okay, if let's say that if, a utility was in my, area of focus, that if I haven't talked to one of the utilities, that I will make it a point after the fact to connect with them or to, reach out. And I always think that it's also important to note that, one, yes, doing your homework, but two, if you maybe haven't done your homework because maybe you just haven't looked at this company, right? Maybe it's someone that's out of state, a company that's out of state. I think too, it's understanding that, come with some questions that, like what kind of questions can you ask the company that's going to help them solve their needs, right? And what types of maybe new innovative things are happening that where maybe you could help solve a problem for them. And so absolutely doing your homework, but then also, having a plan going into it, because I think sometimes, especially with some of the conferences and the amount of people, it can be a little overwhelming for weebies. And so anyway, if they come prepared, they know that, they kind of have a plan in place. And if they meet additional corporates along the way, well, that's just, a cherry on the top.
Right. That's the bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there any advice you can share when it comes to, maybe following up and networking with folks that, like you mentioned, you're going to see some of them at this Matchmaker event, but you're going to just see some of them. Maybe you'll go attend one of their speaking events, or maybe you'll run into them at lunch, or, how would you kind of navigate the networking part of this with the corporates? Because we respect your time, and we know that, we don't want to be so forward that, we assume that you're going to make time for me. But how would you do that from a networking standpoint in order for me to maximize my best chances of interacting with you and maybe at some future point doing business?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to, always lean in. This is kind of maybe a played out term, but I always say, like, just lean in. And even if you can't have, a 5-minute conversation because, to your point, people are busy and they may be talking to others, just introduce yourself, make it a point to introduce yourself and maybe provide a business card and ask them for theirs so that you can kindly follow up after. And the other thing that I think is just making sure that you clearly articulate what it is that you do and any sort of follow-up, right? Whether you do get a chance to talk to folks on site or whether you're following up, it's just being able to clearly articulate that. Because I think, many times you hear of companies that, they kind of say, oh, well, I do X services. And you're like, okay, well, what about X services? Like, so I always like to ask for examples. Well, give me an example of something that you've done. And if they have examples of, for me, for the utility space, well, do you have examples specific to the utility space? If they do, great. If they don't, then I just ask for an example period. Because I think that can kind of help me figure out, okay, yeah, then that would be a great person to introduce to X person, right, internally. Because our job really is to be the connector and the conduit between the weebies and our internal businesses. And so, what I think is just making sure that you're, being seen. And if you know that there's, 3 corporate representatives there, make sure to at least touch base with one of them, right? And if there's only one, then obviously you want to try to, at least get them to give you their card or follow up. But definitely if there's more than one, then make sure that you at least touch base and make a connection with at least one of the corporate reps.
Now, for you, this event in the past, has there been a story you can share, a memorable moment from a previous conference that you would like to share, that maybe, you made a connection or you helped somebody or something that you remember?
Yeah, so we last year we had a weebie that attended in the construction space. And they hadn't been as connected with WBEC-West in a little while. And they were so thankful and appreciative that one, we invited them to join us, but two, and they're an existing supplier, and that two, that they were able to make all these additional connections because one of the things that I know WBEC-West is big on, and I always talk about, is that this network is such a supportive network, right? Like, women help build each other. And although, you may not be able to do business with maybe a corporation, there's probably another WBE that you can team up with or subcontract for, right? So in this case, the company that I was mentioning, it's ensuring that we were, introducing them to a lot of other women. One, that they could mentor because this business has been in business for a while. And two, that they could have also kind of this network of people that they could then team up with or partner with on future projects. And so, coming out of there, this WBE was just super excited and very appreciative. And we have just seen their business flourish and grow, not just with SRP, but as a business. And I do think that a lot of that is a direct result of continuing to be engaged, right, in events like this, because especially out here in Arizona, there's a lot of growth, especially in the construction space. So if there's anything in that area, right, then it's also kind of just knowing what area you live in and what are kind of the hot areas that are growing and developing, and how can I potentially work with the business like that to get future opportunities.
And this event is an opportunity for you to get in front of corporates that can really make a difference in your business. So, this is, to me, is a must-attend event. If you're involved in the community and you're a member, I think it's super important to invest the time to attend here, because meeting face-to-face with these people like yourself, that it can be a game-changing, account if you can land Salt River Project account for some of these Weebies. So I wouldn't sleep on this opportunity. I think this is a must-attend event this September 17th through 19th. How often do people get a chance to meet with you and your team face-to-face like this? It's probably not that frequently.
Yeah, there's a few times a year, right? And then also the fact that I mentioned that we're bringing folks in procurement. Oftentimes, myself and maybe someone else on the team gets to attend, but we're not part of the procurement team that's actually making the decisions with the internal client. So I think that's why I think this is just so important, because one, you have a team of folks that are going to be there. And then two, like, I just think that just professional growth, right? And who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want the professional and business growth? I think a lot of things that you may learn at an event like this could also help propel your business to the next level. And I think oftentimes we think, I'm going to come out of here and I'm going to get a contract. And I think if you walk out of there and you made, X amount of connections, you kind of have to make a goal for yourself, and you came out with those connections, and you came out with all these additional learnings that can help you grow your business. That's a win, right? Because we all know that a contract won't happen overnight. And so I think, one, it's just making that first introduction. And then secondly, that there's just so many other opportunities for personal growth and development, both on a personal level and also at a professional level through your business.
Yeah, and the dates again for this event is September 17th through 19th. It's in Henderson, Nevada. It's you can go to webec-west.com to learn more. This is the 21st annual procurement conference. I think it's a must-attend event. If you're a Weebie and you're already investing in the community, take this next step and learn from your peers in person, meet them face-to-face, get in front of a bunch of corporates that can help your business get to a new level. I think that you should really attend this event. What do you think, Erika?
Yeah, I say it's a great investment, right, in your like I said, in yourself and in your business. So I agree with you. As many people that can sign up and register, and like you said, it's just having access, right? And we all talk about having access to opportunities. This is it.
Yep. this is where it happens. So, Erika, if somebody wants to connect with you and learn more about Salt River Project, what's the website there?
So you can find us at srp.net/supplier diversity. That will take you to our site, one, to where you can register to be a prospective supplier to SRP. And then two, it does have all of our forms of communication. It has our phone number, our email, and then it also has just some other additional fun things that we've been doing, like tracking our economic impact in our community. So that's on there as well. And I'll say the website again. It's srp.net/supplier diversity.
Well, Erika, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing such important work and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. This is Lee Kantor. We'll see you all next time on Women in Motion.